Alrighty then. We give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yah by way of Yahushua HaMashiach. John 5:39 says, "Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and they are they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you." And we will swing over here to Psalms 27. Psalms 27. Good old Psalms 27. And we'll probably start at about verse 4. Ain't no sense of starting that high. Psalms 27 and 4. It says, "One thing I have desired of Yahuwah, that I will seek after, that I may dwell in the house of Yahuwah all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of Yahuwah, and to inquire in his temple." Now, when we look at the word beauty, the word is noam, and it's kindness, pleasantness, delightfulness, or favor. So when you sit back and you talking about beholding the beauty, let's look at, and that's one of these. Let's go to Zechariah 11 real quick, and that's one of these staves. We dealt with one of them staves before. Let's look at Zechariah 11 real quick. If I can get down there. We may not exhaust every resource when it comes to seeking Yah's face, but Yah willing, we'll be able to get to most of it in the course of these 3 days, or these 3 meetings, most high willing. Zechariah 11 and 7. And he says, "And I will feed the flock of slaughter, even you, O poor flock. And I took unto me 2 staves, the one I call beauty, and the other I call bands, and I fed the flock." Now, when we look at what a stave is, there's some mistakes, my memory. The word is makal, and it's a rod or a stick. It's a staff with one traveling. So he says he's going to break 2 staves. So when we look at him, he's got one called beauty. You got one called, I'm looking right at it too, bands. So he says he's going to break these 2 things. When we look at the favor of what he brought us out of the first time, and what he said he had to break, let's sit back and look at what he had to break first and foremost, because we just focusing on beauty. You understanding that beauty is favor, and this is what he said that he will seek after, is the beauty of Yahuwah. That's what he gonna seek after. So when you looking at in this particular verse of seeking after the beauty of Yahuwah, you seeking after his favor, or to behold the beauty of Yahuwah. You're seeking after to dwell in his house all the days of your life, so you can behold the favor of Yah, and that you can inquire in his temple. Let me get the word for inquire so I don't have to come back. That word is bakar, and it means to consider, or to seek after, or to reflect. So pause and let's consider that. Now what I was going to go to, Jeremiah 33. It's going to be kind of reverse what we're going to look at in Jeremiah 33. We're really looking at it for the context of a particular matter. I'm trying to set something up. Jeremiah 33 and about verse 19. Jeremiah 33 and 19. Matter of fact, make it 16. Matter of fact, make it 15. He said, "In those days, at that time, will I cause the branch of righteousness to grow up unto David. He shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. In those days shall Yehudah be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And this is the name whereof he shall be called, Yahuwah our righteousness. For thus saith Yahuwah, David shall never want a man to sit upon the throne of the house of Yasharal." Now there's a reason why he sit back and he say he's going to be called Yahuwah our righteousness. Knowing that Romans chapter 10 say that the Mashiach is the end of the law and the righteousness to all those that believe, and how 1 Corinthians chapter 1 by verse 30 tell you that he was made to be our righteousness. So as Paul told you in Galatians chapter 2, your righteousness or your justification stems not from the law but from Mashiach himself, your faith, your belief, and your hope in him. So when you're seeking after to dwell in that house, you're seeking after to dwell in Yahusha, and Yahusha to dwell in you, and that you might behold that favor when you seek into his temple. So you should be seeking, knowing that Mashiach said that, you know, he spoke of the destroy this temple and I'll build it up in 3 days. And the temple that he spake of was his body, that you would be seeking after him. See, the thing that come in that is individuals begin to stop seeking. And what you end up stop seeking is you stop seeking your salvation. You stop seeking after the word. And when we talk about seeking after the word, not just the fact of seeking after reading it or hearing it preached, but seeking after, because the key thing he said was that it also meant to reflect. To reflect would mean to consider. And then we're going to line something up out of that with Corinthians and certain stuff we done went over before. To cause you for you to consider and to reflect at this particular time. Are you seeking this man with your whole heart and your whole soul to be enveloped by his presence? Because you say you want to dwell in his presence, you say you want to dwell in his house, but are you seeking after that? And then we're going to get to a verse in this particular chapter where you're going to see that sometimes people hear the call and don't even go. This is why sometimes that we mention, this is one of the reasons why we mention about sometimes you have to cut people off or remove people. Because if he's calling you to leave, are you going to leave? Or are you going to try to hold on to individuals to the destruction of your soul? I got you. And that's something that that's just something that has to be considered. Do you know what I'm saying? Because nobody can tell you what to do. People can give you suggestions. Only Yah can tell you what to do. You can see what the words say do, and you can choose to do whatever it is that you want to do. Do you know what I'm saying? But if you say that you're desiring to seek after him, then you should move like a person who's desiring to seek after him. Jeremiah 33 and what? 17? 18 actually. Neither shall the priests, the Levites, want a man before me to offer burnt offerings and to kindle meat offerings and to do sacrifice continually. And the word of Yahuwah came unto Yirmiyahu, saying, Thus saith Yahuwah, if you can break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, for there should be not day and night in their season, then may also my covenant be broken with David my servant, that he should not have a son to reign upon his throne, with the Levites, the priests, my ministers. As the host of oh man, I'm off my page. He says, the Shamahim cannot be numbered, neither the sand of the sea be measured. So will I multiply the seed of David my servant, and the Levites that minister unto me. Moreover, the word of Yahuwah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, Consider thou not, this people have spoken, saying, The two families which Yahuwah have chosen, he have even cast them off. Thus they have despised my people, that they should no more be a nation before them. Thus saith Yahuwah, if my covenant be not with day and night, and if I have not appointed the ordinances of Shamahim and Arats, then I will cast away the seed of Jacob and Dawood my servant, so that I will not take any of his seed to be rulers over the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, for I will cause their captivity to return and to have mercy on them. In this Zechariah, and we can drop down to verse 10, in verse 11. I mean chapter 11, I'm sorry, and verse 10. This is the reason why we went, because he said if you can do these things, he'll break a covenant and cast these people off. But then you're going to look at something and it's going to look as if he's making contradiction upon himself. But he's not breaking the covenant with the people. He's breaking a specific covenant to bring in a better covenant so that you may seek after him. So that you can actually seek the beauty of, or behold the beauty of Yahuwah, or the favor of Yahuwah, because you're inquiring or reflecting in his temple. In the verse 10, I should say, it says, well, we can read verse 8. They ain't gonna hurt nothing. 3 shepherds also I cut off in 1 month, and my soul loathed them, and their soul also abhorred me. Then said I will not feed you that die, let it die, and that is to be cut off, let it be cut off, and the rest eat every one the flesh of another. And I took my staff, even beauty, and cut it asunder, that I may break my covenant which I made with all the people. So he said he took beauty and he cut it asunder. So let's look at something of just what the master stated in Luke chapter 5 for some context for us to be able to reflect. Luke chapter 5 and verse 36. And after that we'll just look at Hebrews chapter 8. So when you look at the faith and understand while we sit back and look at it, understand that the first covenant was built upon favor itself. And I guess we'll have to look at that for you to understand why he say he got to break beauty or break the favor or the goodness or the kindness And the understanding can be brought better forth to see why he did it with Yahusha, to sit back and see the favor that he brought beforehand had to be broken to bring in a better form of favor, of which was not bestowed upon those who preceded him. And it says, and he spake also a parable unto them, no man put a piece of new garment upon an old. For if otherwise, then the new make a rent, and the piece that was taken out of the new agree not with the old. And no man put new wine into old bottles, else the new wine will burst the bottles and be spilled, and the bottles shall perish. But new wine must be put into new bottles, and both are preserved. No man also having drunk old wine straightway desire new, for he saith the old is better. I could say probably for a majority of people, that's their biggest problem. You trying to put old wine, new wine in old bottles. You trying to put a piece of a new garment on an old. You trying to keep yourself and then pour the word in yourself at the same time, and then you're wondering why you're not having the level of success that you desire to have. You either got to be, that's why you have to become a new creature. You can't be the same person doing the same things and then try to put the word on top of it, because when you do that, you're going to end up perishing, because you're going to end up dying, because it's just not going to work. Either that which is flesh, and that which is ruach is ruach. You either going to be all ruach or you're going to be all flesh. You're going to either be all nephash or all ruach, but you can't be both. And that's where people mess up at, because you're an old creature and you trying to pour this new life or this new wine into this old bottle, and it's not working. So you trying to steady hold and to cleave into these old ways. But he told you he took that staff of beauty and he broke that. He cut it asunder. He broke that covenant in order for you to behold the beauty of Yahuwah, to inquire or to consider or to seek or reflect in his house. We don't necessarily want to do that, because we feel like we can pick up the word and still remain the same person at the same time. There has to be a complete transformation of mind, heart, and spirit, and that's what's not occurring. So therefore we don't get the success that we seeking after, and then we wondering why we not getting it. So the average person ends up blaming Yah. They blame the word instead of looking at themselves. That's where the problem lies. Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 7. Because Yah ain't got nothing to do with it. It's you. You know what I'm saying? We have the thought process that Yah is going to do everything for us. That any issue or problem you have, that he's going to deal with. I'm talking about as far as yourself, not issues or problems that you may have in life. You know what I'm saying? But you yourself, your thoughts, your ways, your doings, you have to allow the word to permeate through your inward parts to change that. He's not going to do it for you. He's not going to just wave a hand over you. Nobody's going to touch you and all of a sudden you're healed. You have to have the want, desire, and consistent applied discipline to want to do it. And really what it comes down to is sacrifice. What would you be willing to sacrifice? Who would you be willing to sacrifice? Where would you be willing to sacrifice? That's what people don't want to do, because that's the hard part. That's why, like we were talking about, whoever that teacher dude is that they going crazy about, who don't walk away from the word, 9 times out of 10 it was just something with the word that he'll try to use an excuse of why he say it's not the truth no more. But 9 times out of 10 it was blocking something that he wanted to do, or blocking someone he wanted to still deal with. It was blocking something. So what's the best way to do it? Throw it in the garbage can, and I ain't got to worry about it, and I can continue on and do as I please. Make it about verse 6, I should say. But now have he obtained a more excellent ministry, by how much also is he the mediator of a better covenant, which was established upon better promises. For that first covenant had been faultless, then should no place have been sought for the second, for finding fault with them. He saith, behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Yasharal and with the house of Yehuda, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Mizraim, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith Yahuwah. But this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Yasharal after those days, saith Yahuwah. I will put my Torah into their mind, and I will write it in their hearts, and I will be to them an Elohim, and they shall be to me a people. And you know, also Paul also already told us that it's not written on tables of stone, but fleshly tables of the heart. So if you're seeking to inquire in this man's temple, to behold his favor. Let's look at something in Hebrews chapter 4. See, because I got something most high willing that we're going to be looking at when it comes to the Ezekiel chapter 40 through 48. That we're going to be weaving in on what we were talking about based on the conversation I had a couple weeks ago with somebody about me taking that detour, and they told me just go ahead and do it. Like, screw it, might as well. They wasn't really worried about no genealogies. But most high willing, we get to them genealogies though. But it's going to have some of those things in it about what it would be like to inquire in his temple. But you cannot have your mind wrapped around thinking that it's going to be an actual physical structure, though it's going to be described as an actual physical structure. It is not an actual physical structure. We touched some of this stuff last summer, and now we just finna really look at, y'all willing, real soon, the intricate details of the temple. And that was based on a start in 2 Kings chapter 12 and 2 Chronicles 24, I believe, with the repairing of the temple by Joash. Nevertheless, Hebrews 4 and 12, actually about 4 and 13. He said, neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him whom we have to do. Seeing then that we have a great high priest that is passed into Shamahin, Yahushua the son of Elohim, let us hold fast our profession. For we have not a high priest which cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but was in all points tempted like as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore boldly come unto the throne of favor, that we may obtain mercy and find favor in the time of need. Let's come over here to Ephesians chapter 3 real fast. Now see, that's the part that we looking at when we dealing with beholding the favor of Yahuwah. Because knowing that when the gospel of the Besorah Yahushua is preached, the favor of Elohim is be made manifest, because it's by favor that you are saved. It's a free gift. For time's sake, I'm going to have to crank it up. The covenant of beauty that was broken, that we could say that that covenant of favor that was broken beforehand, that first covenant of favor was made with Abraham when he told Abraham to leave from amongst his people. There was kindness that he was showing to Abraham that Abraham had not earned. That covenant again was reinforced when he got got Lot out of Sodom and Gomorrah, him being Abraham's kinfolk. You know what I'm saying? Therefore, that covenant of favor was extended unto Abraham again when Isaac was produced, which of course produced Jacob, which of course produced the sons of Yasharal, which produced the people who we descend from. Therefore, through that, because of the favor or the kindness that he bestowed on Abraham, that led forth us the kindness or favor bestowed upon us to be brought up out of Egypt, out of Mizraim. And therefore, that covenant, and that's how he breaks the beauty or the favor, which is that first covenant that was set in the wilderness in Sinai, that covenant of which we didn't keep, of which we read in Hebrews chapter 8. You know what I'm saying? In times past, on a Wednesday, we would have went through that step by step, but we try to spare a little bit of time. So, you know, go look at Abraham starting in Genesis chapter 12, and you know, all the way up till Jacob marries his wives, and you will see that covenant. Remember, he made that covenant with Isaac in Genesis 26, and made that covenant with Jacob in Genesis 28. And that's the favor that was bestowed upon them, the kindness. There was nothing that they did to get that. Then you begin to look in Exodus, you know, starting at chapter 2, and you see he had respect unto them because he remembered Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Therefore, he remembered the covenant that he made with them. So then, of course, y'all know, beginning in Exodus chapter 20, he begins to make the covenant with us as a people. And then, of course, you know, when Hamashiach went up upon the stake, that's when that covenant was broken, because he is that favor. We could look at John chapter 1 verse 12 for that. Let's look at that right now. Hold on, let me read Ephesians chapter 3 verse 12 though. We'll start about verse 7 though. Actually about verse 5 or 4. So Hamashiach himself is that favor. So while we read Hebrews 4 was for this purpose, for you to boldly know, like this you got to understand something, right? The Ark of the Covenant is basically the throne of Elohim. That's what the mercy seat was. This is why the high priest went upon there on the Day of Atonement, because he was seeking mercy or coming to the throne of favor, because Yah don't owe you that mercy for him and then for the people. This is why this is symbolic when Yahushua entering into the sanctuary, which is in Shamahim, came not only to get mercy for himself, but for the people. So this also goes to a question I was asked last week. Okay, if you done sinned after immersion, or if you done sinned period, if you ain't been immersed, your whole purpose is you need to go through this man's throne boldly, with a humble and contrite heart, and pray that he have mercy on you. I cannot tell you if he will have mercy on you. I can tell you that certain actions, the book say this is what can befall you. I was talking with somebody talking about this last night. Hold on. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, that's Dan.
What's going on? We were just talking about this last night. So when you have a desire in your heart that will pull you away from Yah, Yah will put it in your face just for see how much you love him. And y'all should know that from Deuteronomy 13. He will test you to see how much you love him. And if you choose the thing that will show that you don't love him like you say you do, then he may give it to you. Just like he says in Psalms, he'll give you the desire of your hearts to see what your end is going to be. You know what I'm saying? Some people he give them that and then they can get pulled up out of it. And some people he let them keep getting what they want so they can go to hell with it. Do you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, whatever be confronted and put in your face, if it's going to cause you to make a decision to where it's going to show how much you love Yah, then you better go with Yah on that one there, and you better forsake that, whatever that is there, because clearly that's not going to be for your good 9 times out of 10. You know what I'm saying? And like we talked about last week, he always come to you. The adversary always come when you in a weak state. That's when if you in a weak state, you got to be leery of anybody that come around you to confirm that they are from Yahuwah before you make any strong decisions or moves. Now, I didn't say sit back and say just be leery, period. I say to be leery to confirm that they from Yahuwah. Because if they from Yahuwah, they're going to minister to your spirit and to your soul. If they from the adversary, they're going to minister to your flesh. Bottom line. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's how Satan works. He's going to minister to your flesh. He's going to serve your flesh. He's going to give you everything your flesh desires. He's going to give you everything your flesh wants and everything your flesh likes. That's how you're supposed to. That's how, if by reason of use of the word, y'all should be able to know that. You should be able to discern if something be from Yah or something be from the adversary or not, based on what they're offering, based on what they're coming with. Because Yah will never send anything that ministers to your flesh, ever, period. Because he's not carnal, he's not flesh. He doesn't operate that way. He doesn't operate that way. You can't go in this book nowhere and see this man ministering to anyone's flesh. He doesn't operate that way. So the minute something pop up, when you in a weak state and they minister into your flesh, then you know that's of the adversary. And we still ain't done with that purpose there of discerning between the flesh and the spirit, because y'all definitely need to know how to discern right from wrong according to the word and not your vain opinion. You know what I'm saying? That's for everybody, all of us, myself included. Everybody has to know that. You have to be able to know good from evil, Kadesh from unkadesh, clean from unclean. You know what I'm saying? Kadesh from profane, righteousness from unrighteousness, Elohim from the adversary. You have to know the difference. It's imperative, or it's detrimental to your soul if you can't tell the difference. You have to be knowing when your soul is being tried and you being tested. That book says, man, no matter if you face persecution, distress, tribulation, nakedness, hunger, peril, nothing should separate you from the love of Mashiach. If something can cause you to separate you from the love of Mashiach, your love for Mashiach was not as strong as you claim it is. Because nothing should be able to separate you from that. No one should be able to say. There's nothing that you should desire or want enough that would want to cause you to be separated from that. That's why I was telling them brothers yesterday. They're like, oh, he walked away from the word. Oh, they threatened him. They threatened his family. Clearly, he didn't love Yah. I wouldn't care about nobody threatening me. So you mean to tell me if somebody threatened your family, that'll be a get you enough to turn against your God? That means you love your family more than you love your God. Some people say that sounds crazy. That ain't right. It is what it is, though. At the end of the day, who does your allegiance lie to? I can't answer that question for you. Nevertheless, Ephesians 3 and 4. He said, whereby when you read, you may understand my knowledge and the mystery of Mashiach, when in other ages was not made known unto the sons of men, as it is now revealed unto his Kadesh apostles and prophets by the Ruach. And this is what caused to be able to occur with the breaking of that covenant, because that was not known. The volume of the book was not known with them. This means of salvation, or Yahuwah, our righteousness, like we read in Jeremiah, cannot be made manifest to save Yehuda and Jerusalem, of which could not been done in times past. That the Gentiles should be fellow heirs and of the same body, and partakers of his promise in Mashiach by the Besor. Wherefore I am made a minister according to the gift of the favor of Elohim given unto me by the effectual working of his power. Unto me, who am less than the least of all Kadeshim, is favor given, that I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Mashiach, and to make all men see what is the fellowship of the mystery, which from the beginning of the world had been hid in Elohim, who created all things by Yahushua HaMashiach, to the intent that now unto the principalities and powers in Shamahim might be known by the synagogue the manifold wisdom of Elohim, according to the eternal purpose which he purposed in Yahushua HaMashiach our Master, in whom we have boldness and access with confidence by the faith of him. So that's where your boldness come in at. See, a lot of people might get put off and feel a particular type of way when I speak, or anybody who may have the level of faith that I possess when they speak, because of the boldness of it, because that's how you get access to this man. That's why he say, come to that throne boldly. That takes us back to Adonijah with Solomon. Let's look at that since I mentioned it. 1 Kings chapter 4. Let's just not do it. Let's just bring it back to your memory, and let's just go look at it. And then we'll go to 2 Corinthians chapter 13, and then go back to Psalm 27 and then continue. 1 Kings chapter 4, I want to say. That is not 1 Kings chapter. I got to make sure I got the right thing. It might be 1 Kings chapter 2. First Kings chapter 2, I should say. No, that ain't it either, man. I don't know this book like this, so I can't remember. It might be 1 Kings chapter. It might be chapter 2. Give me a second. I can't get up because my back hurts so bad to grab that other book. Make about verse 19 of chapter 2. God. 1 Kings chapter 2 verse 19. Bathsheba therefore went unto King Solomon to speak unto him for Adonijah. And the king rose up to meet her, and he bowed himself unto her, and sat down on his throne, and caused a seat to be set for the king's mother, and she sat on his right hand. Then she said, I desire one small petition of thee, I pray thee, say me not nay. And the king said unto her, ask on, my mother, for I will not say thee nay. And he said, let Abishag the Shumanite be given to Adonijah thy brother to wife. King Solomon answered and said unto his mother, and why dost thou ask Abishag the Shumanite for Adonijah? Ask for him the kingdom also, for he is my elder brother, even for him, and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab the son of Zeruiah. Then King Solomon swore by Yahuwah, saying, God do so to me and more also, if Adonijah have not spoken this word against his own life. Now therefore, as Yah live, which established me, and set me on the throne of Daud my father, and who have made me an house as he promised, Adonijah shall be put to death this day. So because of the subtlety of Adonijah, you know, he's ready to murk him. Let's swing back down and drop down a little bit. It might be chapter 3. It might be a little further on down. I know it's at the end of the chapter, where he runs and he grabs hold to the throne. Give me a second. Oh, hold on. I gotta get up. I gotta grab that. God. Now, with him doing that, because, you know, Adonijah was the one who was supposed to get the kingdom. Yah gave it to Solomon. He was mad about that. He tried to get him a good old wife out the deal. 1 Kings chapter 1. I wore it right in my head the first time. And about verse 46. because I definitely had it in my mind. 1 Kings chapter 1, the first one. Let's look at what it says. And Solomon sat on the throne of the kingdom, and moreover the king's servant came to bless our master Malik Daoud, saying, Elohim, make the name of Solomon better than our name, and make his throne greater than our throne. And the Malik bowed himself upon the bed, and thus said the king, Baruch be Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharah, who have given one to sit on my throne this day, my eyes even seeing it. And all the guests that were with Adoniah were afraid and rose up and went every man his way. Adoniah feared because of Solomon and arose and went and caught hold on the horns of the altar. And it was told Solomon, saying, Behold, Adoniah feared King Solomon, for lo, he hath caught hold on the horns of the altar, saying, Let King Solomon swear unto me today that he will not slay his servant with the sword. Solomon said, If he will show himself a worthy man, there shall not a hair of him fall to the earth. But if wickedness be found in him, he shall die. Now remember, now we looking at, he said to go to that throne of the throne of favor with boldness. He said, boy, if any wickedness be found in him, let him die. So let's look at something in 2 Corinthians chapter 13. Because remember, if you seeking to behold the beauty, you seeking to behold the favor, you want to behold that throne of mercy. But you want to inquire in this temple, so you need to reflect. So you need to reflect or consider Mashiach. Because if it be any wickedness be found in you, you going to hell. So it doesn't make any sense for any. That's why Peter told you, don't let any spot, wrinkle, or blemishes be found in you. You need to consider that. Don't come at this man's throne trying to grab hold onto this man's altar and it be wickedness found in you. Show yourself to be worthy. And while we looked at be found worthy of the vocation of which you were called, or what we talked about the other day, or your calling. Don't come to the word and then find yourself unworthy because you don't want to do the things to show yourself worthy. 2 Corinthians chapter 13 and verse 5. Make it verse 4. For though he were crucified through weakness, yet he lived by the power of Elohim. For we also are weak in him, but we shall live with him by the power of Elohim towards you. Now remember, it said acquire in his temple. So if you're acquiring into his house or in his sanctuary, then you would understand how through weakness you would be made strong. It's not by might nor by power, but by my Ruach, saith Yahuwah. So a lot of times we don't want to have ourselves in a weak position because you want to show forth people how strong you are, not realizing that your strength lay in Yahuwah. And this is how the adversary creep in. Just like when he came to the master, he ain't come tempted the master until the master hadn't ate for 40 days and 40 nights. He ain't come fooling with the master until the master was weak because he was getting ready to die. That's why he sent a Malakim to strengthen him. That's why he say the strong ought to support the weak, and two are better than one. It doesn't make sense to seek strength from people who are as weak or weaker than you in the word. They can't be a strong defense or protection for you in that particular fashion. But that's what we tend to try to do, is we try to tend to cleave to certain individuals. And if you weak, you need to seek individuals that can keep you strong in that situation. Not individuals that are at the same level that you are at. Because you're not going to get no strength from that. You know what I'm saying? And if you're strong, then you should be willing to want to support the weak. A lot of times people don't want to show that they're in a weak state because they think people who are stronger will ridicule them. If an individual who was strong ridiculed a person, that is pure wickedness that can't even be encapsulated in words. Nevertheless, examine yourselves whether you be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Yahushua HaMashiach is in you, except you be reprobates? But I trust that you shall know that we are not reprobates. Now I pray to Elohim that you do no evil, not that we should appear approved, but that you should do that which is honest, though we be as reprobates. For we do nothing against the truth, but for the truth. For we are glad when we are weak, and ye are strong. And this also we wish, even your perfection. This man say you need to prove your own self. And he say, don't you know that this man is in you? If you're inquiring in this temple, if this is what you're seeking after, you don't know this man in you, except you be rejected, except you are working to be reprobated, to be worthless. So you wouldn't know this man was in you unless you were worthless. So he say, prove your own selves. He told you in the book of Psalms, he say, you know, commune upon your own bed and sin not. Stand in awe and consider. So when you're inquiring into this man's temple, see, this goes back to what he told you in Luke chapter 14. You got to sit down and look at if you got enough to pay the price. Did you count the cost? Did you consider? Hello?
How can
How you doing? You got to sit back and you have to consider. A lot of people, you're not considering what you preparing your heart to do when you seek after this man's face. Let's come back to Psalm 27. We're in verse 4. So when we look at beholding, when you say that you want to seek after and dwell in the house of Yahuwah, you saying you want to dwell in Mashiach and you want to behold his favor. You want to behold that mercy, and then you want to consider and reflect while you're in that house. Consider, reflect. Because when you consider it and you know your own self, then you can prove that you in the faith by your own actions. Then you can see that you're doing things for the truth and not against the truth. A lot of times we're committing actions and making decisions that are against the faith. And you don't have to make those decisions. I just told my homegirl that the other day. Whatever, when it's talking about committing sin or whatever, anything you could do, it's a decision. You're making a conscious decision that this is what you're choosing to do. You know full well what you were doing when you made the decision. 9 times out of 10, you're not under duress when you're making the decision. So it's your desire. That's where your desire led you to. You did not allow your desire to be fit and knit to the word. You allowed your desire to be fit and knit to your flesh and to your mind and to your will. And then you want to feel sad and bad because you want this man to forgive you when you never had to make that choice in the first place. You didn't have to make that choice. And that's the part of the game that we're going to have to start dealing with and accepting, is everything is a choice that you make. And the choices that you make to get you in this man's kingdom or to get you in this man's wrath is on you. In the same way that you led a life where you chose to go against this man's word, you can live a life to choose not to go against it. And to be in that weak state, to be made powerful by him, and to reject anyone and anything that could cause you to be discarded from his presence. Because I believe our people is hurt so bad for attention and love and all this stuff that's why we'll mix and mingle with anybody and we don't care and risk our soul. That's why we don't care. Because you can't necessarily in your mind, you can't necessarily see. You may, or in your mind, you can't necessarily feel. To be enveloped by the presence of Yahuwah. Oh yeah, we need that John chapter 1 verse 12. We're going to get that in a moment. Sometimes you can't necessarily feel that love of Yahuwah in your mind. You read about it, and you may have a wave of an emotional euphoria hit you, but then after that emotional euphoria hits you, it passes. See, that's the thing with emotions versus the Ruach, because emotions pass, they're not enduring. You know what I'm saying? They're not enduring, because your moods and emotions can change depending on the moment, depending on the day, depending on who's in your presence. But the power and nature and character of Yahuwah is enduring and everlasting, and it never changes. It never changes. And that's what we sitting back looking at. That's why we don't want to be moved by our flesh, because moods change. And you could feel a particular way at one moment and commit an action that's based on how you felt at that moment. And that may not be necessarily indicative of who you are as an individual, but you got caught up in the emotion of the moment. And that emotion of the moment can cause you to make a decision that can affect the entire course of your life. And we talk about your eternal and spiritual life. So it would cause you to consider the word, reflect and inquire. If you are in him and he is in you, and you know this man done broke the covenant so that his word can be written in your heart and in your mind, then you need to reflect and inquire upon it. Because there's going to be times you don't have no book to go grab, to go read. You might not can't pop your phone open and hit your Bible app and scroll in it and let me read this here for some comfort or some, or this. No, it needs to already be in you. You shouldn't. It gets to a point of serving y'all that you should not have to do that. That his word should speak unto you because you are in it, because you inquire and you reflect upon it daily. And that doesn't always necessarily mean opening up a book or the book to do it, because it needs to be in you. And then the book is at your access 24 hours, 7 days a week. Let me get this John chapter 1 verse 12 to deal with when we talking about favor. Y'all just bear with me. This is a long, drawn-out topic where I have numerous examples to choose from. John 1 and 12. Make it a 9. That was the true light, which light every man that come into the world. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. He come into his own, and his own received him not. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of Elohim, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, nor of the will of the flesh, nor of the will of man, but of Elohim. And the word was made flesh, and dwelt among us, and we beheld the esteem as of the only begotten of the Father, full of favor and truth. This man came with mercy and truth. This is what he came with. He came, and remember, that's kindness, which is loving kindness, which is mercy. Because see, I was explaining this to my homegirl the other day. She made the mention of, you know, he was out seeing cast the first stone. So we know that's John chapter 8. So you know, when you pop open Psalms 130, it says, Yahuwah, if you would mark iniquity, who shall stand? He said, but forgiveness is with you, that men might fear thee. Which we know that's why he did what he did in John chapter 8, because he was showing this woman mercy. When you look at the things that he was doing, and y'all willing, that's a separate lesson in and of itself, for you to show how this, we could show how this man walked around showing mercy and faith, which is what Yah always wanted you to do in the first place. Let's look at Micah 6 and 10. That's what he wanted you to always do in the first place. And mercy is showing that compassion to somebody who was in a position where you don't have to do it. See, that's what mercy actually is. Showing someone compassion when you're in a position where you don't necessarily have to do it. Because he didn't have to show you any mercy at all. Mercy is sitting back seeing a man, like the quote unquote Good Samaritan parable. This was a man who had been beaten and robbed, and everybody walked past him and showed him no mercy, except for one person. That Samaritan walked past him and showed him mercy. That's why when he asked him that, he said, which one showed mercy? He said, that man. He said, go and do likewise. See, we be so caught up. See, you know, we only want to show mercy to people that we know. See, that's why he told you that it's easy for you to show mercy to people that you know. But how about you crank it up a notch and be like Elohim and show mercy to people that you don't know? Or crank it up even another notch and show mercy to your enemies. Because that's what he did. And that's what I mean about the small things that we overlook, which will show forth the attributes of Elohim. Because everybody ain't got God in it. I don't care. We have to, let me put it this way. You have to be able to make the discernment between somebody who is good. Because I know a lot of people that are good people according to the flesh, but in the eyesight of Yah, they wicked though. And you have to be able to make the difference. And then you have people who will look at people who are good in the eyesight of Yah and say that they are wicked from their vantage point because they don't know Yah. He told you that in John 17. He said, righteous Father, the world have not known you. He said the world know us not because it know him not. So if you are of Elohim, people of the world should not know you. You should seem so odd to them. Not off-putting, but odd to them. Because they should not be able to understand you. Because they didn't understand Mashiach. Because they didn't understand Abba. He already told you this. Because an average person couldn't understand showing mercy to an enemy. Not realizing, and this is even broken down in the 48 Laws of Power with a Chinese emperor. That he showed mercy unto all his enemies. And you know what ended up happening? All of his enemies ended up becoming his staunchest allies because they knew that this man did not have to spare their life, and he did it anyway. And all he was really doing is doing what Yahuwah had already been doing since the foundation of the world, showing mercy to people who didn't deserve it. Therefore, when they seen the mercy of which he showed, you would become his staunchest ally because you know that he ought to have killed you where you stood. That's why he said, if he mark iniquity, who shall stand? There's forgiveness with him that he might be respected. That's why he spared that woman in John 8. But y'all don't look at that man mercy in that fashion. That's why you're not inquiring in his temple. You saying you seeking after him, but you're not seeking after him to understand, because that's what it means to seek his face. To understand who he is, what he's about, what he stands for, how he operates. Fully enveloping yourself in that, and not with the surface stuff. Not just with enough what you think is just going to get you by. I do not remember what I wanted. Nevertheless, Second Chronicles chapter 7. Second Chronicles chapter 7. 7 and 11. So when we seek in His face, that's what we have to look at. And we'll probably look at Ezra real quick. I still got a little bit of time. I still got about 15 minutes. Because if you're seeking after Yahuwah, you seeking after His kindness and you seeking after His mercy. That's what you're seeking after. And if you seek after Him, I guarantee you, you'll find Him. He told you that. He told you that. 2 Chronicles, 7 and 11. Thus Solomon finished the house of Yahuwah, the king's house, and all that came into Solomon's heart to make in the house of Yahuwah, and in his own house he prosperously effected. And Yahuwah appeared to Solomon by night and said unto him, I have heard thy prayer, and have chosen this place to myself for a house of sacrifice. If I shut up Shamahim and there be no rain, or if I command the locust to devour the land, or if I send pestilence among my people, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves, and pray, and seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from Shamahim, and will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. Now let's go back to Psalm 27. He said if you would humble yourselves, and you would pray, and seek His face, He would forgive. Now, there's three components to what you have to do. Number one, you have to humble yourself. What is the humbling of yourself? It's Proverbs 28 and 13. He that confesseth his sins and forsake them shall have mercy. Again, which is showing another reason why you confess your sins before you get immersed. What the Apostle John wrote, that he said, he that confesseth his sins, that he is just to forgive them and cleanse them from all unrighteousness. But see, if you confessing your sins just for the fact of, oh, you just telling it, that man is not going to accept that. It has to come from a humble and contrite heart, that you are truly humbled and repentant for your actions. Not just, oh, I did it. Because he's not going to accept that. Because that's not true. That's not humbleness. That's not contriteness of what he's desiring. He's desiring what Paul told you in 2 Corinthians 7 and 9, godly sorrow. Godly sorrow, because that's what that humble and contrite heart is going to espouse, and therefore because of that, then He'll accept you. But you're gonna have to humble yourself. You're gonna have to seek His face. That means whatever you were doing that was contrary to Him, that's going to be put to the side. You ain't doing that no more, because you're seeking after Yah. So you have to ask yourself, what are you really seeking after? Are you seeking after a mate? Are you seeking after the world? Are you seeking after riches? Are you seeking after approval? Are you seeking after fame? Because many people seek many different things. And there's probably other things, and it's just escaping my brain at this present time. Some people seek after material things. Some people seek after pleasure, whatever that pleasure may be. What are you seeking after? Because if you're seeking after Yah, you're seeking after something totally different. Something on a whole and complete and totally different level. Because if you're seeking after Yah, nothing else matters. That's why He told you, seek the kingdom of Shamahim first, and all these things will be added unto you. Because you're supposed to be seeking Him first, but we seek everything else before we seek. Some of us would not like to have to live a life where all you had to do was seek Yah, and you couldn't progress in the natural things in life at all. You'll go crazy, because that's really where your heart desire is at. When He really, sometimes this man put you in positions to seek after Him, but we don't recognize it because we're seeking after everything else other than Him. Psalm 27 and 8. Make it verse 7. They ain't gonna hurt it. Well, we can read verse 5. Ain't no sense of just giving all that to lead into it. For in the time of trouble He shall hide me in His pavilion, in the secret of His tabernacle shall He hide me. He shall set me upon a rock, and now shall my head be lifted up above my enemies round about me. Therefore I will offer in His tabernacle sacrifices of joy. I will sing, yea, I will sing praises unto Yahuwah. Hear you, O Yahuwah, when I cry with my voice. Have mercy also upon me, and answer me. When thou saidst, seek ye my face, my heart said unto thee, thy face, Yahuwah, will I seek. When thou said, seek ye my face, my heart said unto thee, thy face, Yahuwah, will I seek. Now let's come over here to Luke chapter 11. Well, let's read some Isaiah 55 first. That's the key point. And see, seeking this man's face is not just, oh, I keep a Sabbath, I don't eat pork. Seeking this man's face, and the word for face is panim. It's seeking everything that he is. Because remember, he told you in Exodus chapter 33 that nobody could see his face and live. So when you seeking his face, you're seeking his presence. And what is the presence of Yahuwah? The presence of Yahuwah encompasses so many different things. Because you're seeking his favor, you're seeking his mercy, you're seeking his joy, you're seeking his shalom, you're seeking his knowledge, you're seeking his goodness, you're seeking his truth. That's what you're doing when you're seeking his face, because you're seeking his presence. You're seeking eternal life. And if you're not seeking, that's why he told you to seek my face. He said, if you seek me, then I shall be found of you. But if you forsake me, I will forsake you. So when you're seeking his face, you're seeking everything that is of Yah and everything Yah is about. And when you forsake him, then you went after the world and became his enemy. Because now you have no longer decided to come boldly to the throne of favor to receive help in a time of need. If you are in sin, or if you are or whatever, you in need of a savior, of a deliverer, of a redeemer. And you need to come to that man boldly with a humble and contrite heart. And if it be in his infinite will and in his goodness and his mercies, then he will accept you. Isaiah 55:6. Seek ye Yahuwah. Listen what he tell you now. And we're going to get Psalm 32 with it. Might as well. Seek ye Yahuwah. Oh, that's a whole nother, yeah, we got that in there too. That Hosea chapter 5. That's a whole nother thing right there. See, that's when he talking about when you would seek after and wouldn't find him, because he had rejected us as a people. When you had that opportunity to seek after him to get his redemption and deliverance and salvation, you told him, kiss my black behind. And he said, that's all good, because when I send these Babylonians and these Assyrians through to crack you across your head and you come to seek after me, you're not going to find me. And actuality, it also ties into I was going to save this here, but I get to you now. When you go read that Hosea 5:15, when he said they'll seek me early and they'll not find me, but in the day of their affliction they'll call upon me and they'll call early. That when you turn around and see when the master told him in John 7, he said, you will seek me, but you will not find me, because he was giving it, they were seeking after him, they couldn't find him. In the time of their trouble, when they were low and afflicted and sorrowful because he was dead, they went looking for him and went looking for him early at the tomb. Couldn't find him either. He was not there. And that's how it's going to be when it get ugly too. And we also going to look at that in Psalm 32. I mean, that was not a bad question. You just pressed me a little early on something I was going to hit for the plan. But nevertheless, he wanted y'all to hear it now, so it heard it was. Isaiah 55:6. He says, seek ye Yahuwah while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near. Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts. See, you need to call on him while he's near. You know what I say? You better seek him while he can be found. See, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, because see, that goes back to say what you just mentioned. You're going to look after him early and you ain't going to be able to find him. Since you mentioned that, let me read this next verse. And let him return unto Yahuwah, and he will have mercy upon him, to our Elohim, for he will abundantly pardon. Let's look at Psalms 32 and then go to Hosea 5. See, because there is a time period that's going to come where you're not going to be able to find this man. 32:1. You're not going to be able to find that man. See, right now you got an opportunity to seek him. You don't want to. And another chance where you sit back that you may not find him is what we mentioned earlier, which is getting turned reprobate. Because getting turned reprobate is because you don't keep the knowledge of Elohim in your thoughts. That's when he gives you over to a reprobate mind, to do things that you ain't got no business doing. See, because you don't want to retain this man in your knowledge and allow this man's word to be retained in your inward parts, and because you have a pleasure in unrighteousness. Because this man said you ought to be damned if you take pleasure in people who commit such acts. He said you ought to get the same reward as they do. He gives you over to that. Because if you're taking pleasure in people who doing things that's not right, then clearly you have a pleasure in the things that are not right. So therefore he'll give you over to that mind that they have, or the mind that you have. You don't want to get to that point. because you lusting after. The book tell you that in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, that everything that happened to your forefathers in the wilderness was so that you would learn not to lust after evil things, that you wouldn't desire wicked things. The first and foremost thing we have to sit back and realize in what our life is, you know, I want each and every one of you to live your life, enjoy it, do things that you enjoy doing, do things you like doing. There's nothing wrong with that, accomplishing your goals and all of that. But now let's deal with reality. In the reality of the situation, you were not created to live and do what you want to do. You were created for one reason and one reason alone, and that was to esteem your Elohim. That's your first and foremost priority. And if anything that you want to do or desire to do or like to do could interfere or hinder you esteeming your Elohim, it needs to go. Just bottom line, it needs to go. Because that's what you were created for. And I think sometimes we look at it as you want to live your life and get his life at the same time. But to get his life, you have to lose your life, because that's what your Savior did. And that's what he told you to do. You got to hate your own life also. What good is it if you gain the whole world and lose your own soul? What good is it if you get everything you want and get to do everything you wanted to do and go to hell? What profit, what gain did you attain from that? We don't look at it in that fashion because, and this is my opinion, I think coming from deeper, most of y'all coming out of that Christian church and the things they teach in that Christian church, that they make you feel like you can have the whole world and God too. And you can't. You can have the world, but you're going to lose Yah. And you have Yah, but you're going to lose the world. But losing the world will give you the excellency of the knowledge of Yahushua HaMashiach and the gift of eternal life. So which one do you want? Anything in life worth having, you're going to have to make a sacrifice. Period. I don't care what it is. If you want to be married, you're going to have to make a sacrifice. How do we know this? Yahushua wanted to be married to Yasharal. He made a sacrifice. He gave his life up. And showed you that in the beginning when it came with sacrificing the Passover lamb. He showed you that in the beginning when it came down with Abraham sacrificing the relationships with his family. He showed you that in the beginning with Abraham willing to sacrifice his own son. He showed you that in the beginning with Adam sacrificing himself for Eve. If you want something of note and of weight and of consequence, you're going to have to make a sacrifice. If you can get something that you consider to be good and you didn't have to make a sacrifice to get it, then in actuality, it's probably not good. Because anything worth doing in life, sacrifices are going to have to be made. You want to save your soul, a sacrifice is going to have to be made. You want to create a business and you want it to be successful, a sacrifice is going to have to be made. You want to be a good parent, sacrifices are going to have to be made. You want to be a good husband, you want to be a good wife, sacrifices are going to have to be made. And if you have not made a sacrifice, or you're not willing to make a sacrifice, then it's really not that good. You're just deluding yourself. Because anything worth having ain't coming easy, and sacrifices going to have to be made to attain it. But when the sacrifice is made and you attain whatever it is that you're going after, then you will appreciate it, and it holds more weight and gravity with you because you know what you gave up to attain something that you deemed worthy of that sacrifice. See, Yahushua deemed us worthy of that sacrifice. That's why he gave his life up. If he did not deem us worthy for dying for, then we would be dead in our sins and be men most miserable. And you know, we're going to eat, drink, and tomorrow we die. Nevertheless, Psalms 32:1. Baruch is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sin is covered. Baruch is the man unto whom Yahuwah impute not iniquity, in whose ruach there is no guile. When I kept silent, my bones waxed old through my roaring all the day long. For day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer. I acknowledge my sin unto thee, and my iniquity have I not hid. I said, I will confess my transgressions unto Yahuwah, and thou forgave the iniquity of my sins. Selah. For this shall everyone that is godly pray unto thee in a time when thou may be found. Surely in the floods of great waters they shall not come nigh unto him. See, look at what he told you, right? You got to acknowledge your sin unto him. You need to confess you don't need to hide your iniquity, and you need to confess your transgression, and maybe he might forgive it. And this is what he say: the godly will pray in a time where he may be found. Because see, if you wait until a time where he cannot be found, then that prayer is not going to be accepted. You think those prayers are going to be accepted during the time of the beast, when iniquity be running around? Because and what we were gonna get to, honestly, Brittany, with what you just asked is that's when he turns his face or he hides his face from you. Once he hides his face from you, you're not gonna be able to find him. Hosea chapter 5. You're not gonna be able to find him, and you don't want that because that's a scary thing. You don't want nothing to do with that. Hosea 5:13. You don't want nothing to do with that. That man, you should already know that. He been hiding his face from our people for the last 600, 700, 800 years, 900 years. Don't think he just started hiding his face from you when you came on the shores of America. And the four corners of the earth where we've been scattered. When Ephraim saw his sickness and Yehudah saw his wound, then went Ephraim to the Assyrian and sent to King Jareb. Yet he could not heal you, nor cure you of your wound. For I will be unto Ephraim as a lion, as a young lion to the house of Yehudah. Even I will tear and go away. I will take away. None shall rescue him. And I will go and I will return to my place. Listen what he said. I will go and return to my place till they acknowledge their offense and seek my face. And their affliction, they will seek me early. Now he said he going to go into a place. That's not the verse you was mentioning though. I know what verse it is. That was not the chapter, but that's the verse I was thinking about when I was saying that. Get to John chapter 7 verse 30. He said he got to return to his place. Then he sat back and said, in the day of your affliction, you'll seek him, and you'll seek him early. John by 7:23. Let me dig out that verse you said, because we got to get ready to slide. It is 7 minutes to 8. And 9 o'clock is the cutoff time. 9 o'clock is the cutoff time. Okay, that is, it's another spot in Hosea chapter 5. That state that. We probably say that for the Sabbath though. I got more time to hit it. Because I ain't got enough time. John 7:23. If a man on the Shabbat day receives circumcision, that the Torah of Moses shall not be broken, are you angry at me because I have made a man every whit whole on the Shabbat day? Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment. Then said some of them of Jerusalem, is this not he whom they seek to kill? But lo, he speak boldly. And they say nothing unto him. Do the rulers know indeed that this is the very Mashiach? Howbeit we know that this man whence he is, but when Mashiach come, no man know whence he is. Then cried Yahusha in the temple as he taught, saying, you both know me, and you know whence I am, and I come not of myself, but he that sent me is true, whom you know not. But I know him, for I am from him, and he hath sent me. See, I go back to what we're talking about. They didn't know Yah, and that's going to take us to something I got in Ezekiel. Most High willing, he bring it to mind for me to tie this back to you, to this. Because the appearance of the Son is the same as the appearance of the Father. That's why, because they didn't know the Father, that's why they didn't know that the Father had sent him. They sought to take him, but no man laid hands on him, because his hour was not yet come. And many of the people believed on him, and said, when Mashiach come, will he do more miracles than these which this man have done? The Pharisees heard that the people murmured such things concerning him, and the Pharisees and the chief priests sent officers to take him. Then said Yahusha unto them, yet a little while I am with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me, and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come. Then said the Yahudim among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles, and teach the Gentiles? What manner of saying is this, that he said, you shall seek me and shall not find me, and where I am, thither you cannot come? See, that takes us right back to what he said in Hosea, because he said he will return to his place, and the day of your affliction, you will not be able to find him. And in the day of their affliction, they went to seek him early. That day that they went to seek him early was on Pentecost. And also for the apostles when they saw him, because he was talking to the scribes and Pharisees then you can also look at it from the framework of the apostles seeking him early at the grave, and that he wasn't there, but he hadn't returned to his place yet. So knowing that this man is in his place, and that place being the set apart tabernacle to forever make intercession on our behalf, you ought to be seeking this man early while he can be found. Do not wait until, because when you wait till the day of Yahuwah, when you wait till this man begins to pour out his wrath on you, and now you want to start calling out, and now you want to start asking for forgiveness, and now you want to start seeking his face, it's too late. It's too late. Like when he came to poke out Zechariah's eyes and take everybody to Babylon, it was too late. It wasn't no seeking his face then. You couldn't seek it then, because you should have sought it when you had opportunity. But hallelujah for Yahushua. We got to start right there because it's 3 minutes in.